With the UK approving Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccination and possibly as early as tomorrow beginning to give it to their doctors and nurses, we wanted to talk to our favorite scientist, Dr. Norbert Bischofberger. He's the president and CEO of Kronos Bio. Doctor, thanks for being here. Since we last spoke, when Pfizer first announced that they had a very effective vaccine, you wanted to see more information, some of that peer-to-peer review and stuff. What have you seen in the past few weeks that you can tell us about tonight?
Well, I have seen what was publicly disclosed in press releases, and it was frankly very, very impressive. You know, they enrolled in a very short period of time 43,000 individuals. They were randomized half to placebo, half to the vaccine. They observed a total of 170 COVID infections, of which 162 were on placebo and only 8 were on the vaccine arm. So it's highly, highly efficacious, more than 95% if you want to do the calculation. What was even more impressive, at least for me, that it also seemed to prevent severe infections. So they had a total of 10 severe infections. Severe, by the way, is defined as requiring hospitalizations. And of the 10 severe infections, 9 were on placebo and only 1 was on the vaccine arm. So really impressive results. I am personally surprised. They also, by the way, last time I mentioned the safety is of utmost importance. They actually did report some safety information, and the 2 adverse events that occurred with greater than 2% frequency were headache and fatigue. And those are fairly unspecific, events that happen all the time, headache and feeling tired. And they occurred with a frequency of 3.8% and 2%, so very small numbers. So I'm really positively surprised about these results.
Yeah, heck, I'm tired and got headache every day. Let's talk a little bit about now, because you rolled out, not something similar, but you've rolled out a medication that went worldwide with Tamiflu, right? Everybody wanted to get their hands on it. It wasn't a crisis like now, but it was a monumental task to roll out millions and millions of dosages. So you've got at least a little sense of what we are up against trying to get 6 billion vaccinations worldwide. Tell me about that process and what we can realistically expect so that average citizen and their families can get those vaccinations.
So according to the company information, they said they would be prepared to ship 50 million doses this year, 2021, and then another up to 1.3 billion by the end of 2021. The good news is with these vaccines is that the dose is very low. It's 30 micrograms. And it doesn't mean much to you, with 1 gram of material, you can essentially treat 30,000. Those are 30,000 doses. And for those of you who don't know what 1 gram is, a cube of sugar is about 2.8 grams. So a cube of sugar of this material would be about 100,000 doses. So it's challenging, but it points in the right direction. It's doable.
All right, let's talk a little bit about, well, actually, I'm sorry, one last question about this particular vaccine and all the ones that will come out after this. We know Moderna is in the process. We think AstraZeneca is getting close as well. But for kids, you can't really test on young children because nobody's going to volunteer up their kid for any kind of testing. So how do doctors figure or calculate a dosage for children? And do we just have to give it to our kids and find out?
So these studies were done in ages 18 and older. So we don't have any information on children. And the way it normally works in drug development, you establish the safety and efficacy in adults, and then you go to children. But it's a separate development program. You have to figure out what the right dose is. Often the dose is lower in kids. And but the good news is the need for the vaccine is not in children. The need for the vaccine is in the other direction. It's in the elderly. Those are most affected by the disease. And you probably know that of the death rate, the people that have died, 75% of the deaths occurred in people 60 years and older. 75%, only 25% occurred in people that were less than 60 years old.
Right. All right, let's talk a little bit about herd immunity. Now, we've been seeing this thrown around a lot since the days of J. McCarthy and all the fear over vaccines. If I get the shot, I'm protected, right? So what do I care about herd immunity?
Well, herd immunity essentially means that there's enough immunity in the population that the virus over a certain short period will die out and just disappear. So nobody has to worry about it anymore. And the estimate is that in order to achieve herd immunity, we would need about 65% or so of the population infected. So you're right. For you, if you think egotistically, for you it doesn't mean anything, but for the overall healthcare system and the population, for public health, it's an important issue.
Right.
And keep in mind, there is certainly some resistance in certain part of the population to get them vaccinated. There are the anti-vaxxers. There are others for religious reasons believe this is not the right thing to do. And, you know, those people will then still be protected by herd immunity.
Right. And besides, we know the government's going to be putting microchips in it so they can track us, right?
Yeah, right. That's what some people might want you to believe. By the way, another thing I would like to point out, there's another vaccine by the American company Moderna that's very close. It's at the same point, and the data look almost the same. You know, the numbers are a little bit different. They enrolled 30,000 individuals. They had a total of 196 COVID infections, of which 185 were on placebo and only 11 were on the vaccine arm. And they also say they would be in the process of supplying 20 million doses this year, and then 500 million to 1 billion in 2021. So put these two things together, I feel pretty confident we'll make inroads into this disease. But by the way, another thing I would like to mention, there's a little challenge associated with these two vaccines, and that is they require cold temperature storage requirement. One vaccine, the one by Moderna, it has to be stored at minus 20 Celsius, which is essentially 0 Fahrenheit, which is the temperature of a freezer or inside of a freezer. And the other one is stored at minus 70 Celsius. That's about 108 minus Fahrenheit, and that's the temperature of dry ice. This is all doable, particularly in this country and industrialized countries. This is a challenging if you think about distributing the vaccines to certain geographies where refrigeration is not readily available, like African countries, India, etc.
Right. All right. Well, if our favorite scientist is excited about this possibility, then so am I. Dr. Norbert Bischofberger, President and CEO of Kronos Bio. Thank you, as always, for your time, sir, and for your expertise.
Thank you, Gino. Appreciate it. Bye.